What surprised me was how the American people bowed and stayed bowed. Like I just couldn't believe
Yeah.
the willingness to go along, the sheep mentality.
Let's dig into this. What
Yeah.
in the world is going on? I mean, like literally, Rick, what is going on in the world? And I want to, I love having you talk about this because you do talk about it with joy. But as homeschool parents, as homeschool moms who are trying to navigate this crazy world around us, it's easy for me. I know I find myself wanting to just stick my head in the sand. I want to ignore it all. I want to turn off Facebook. I want to turn off all the news media outlets. I want to just shut it off and pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I can't do that. I know too much. I've learned about myself that I know too much to keep silent about it, but also to pretend like it's not actually going on.
Yeah.
And so talk to us about some of the important issues that are happening around us today and how we as parents can navigate this with our kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Let me start, if I could, by saying how we keep joy in looking at
Yeah.
these things, because part of the important perspective is to always kind of step back and get a 30,000 feet views and look at it in the context of history and realize Solomon was right. There's nothing new under the sun. As C.S. Lewis said, with the atomic age, let us not begin by exaggerating the novelty of our circumstances. Even calling the coronavirus the novel coronavirus was part of creating this mindset that this is something we've never dealt with
Right.
before, so we have to do all these things we've never done before. Well, that's part of our civic ignorance and our historical ignorance and our biblical ignorance that we
Yeah.
allowed that to happen to us. So part of how we keep joy is remembering in the context of history how this all plays out, and remembering that God is sovereign and that he's in charge, and that regardless of the outcome, we do our duty and we leave the results to God. Another way that
Amen.
we keep joy is we always look at, like we say on the Front Porch Live, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We definitely address the bad and the ugly. I don't believe in, sticking our head in the sand and not paying attention to these things. I think we have to be eyes wide open. We have a duty as free citizens. If we lived in a dictatorship or a monarchy, it'd be a little different. You could say, well, I have no influence on what's going on, so I can't. But in America, we are the government. Therefore, we have influence and a duty. We can't be the wicked and slothful servant that buries the talent of freedom and doesn't participate in what God's given us. And so when I go back to, like we were talking earlier, May of 2020, I'll tell you the two things that surprised me the most since then. We talked back then about how the left was going to try to use this to change the culture, change the nation, change our reliance on experts and government and all that kind of stuff. And get us to not be so individual and all of those things. They've definitely done that. What surprised me was how the American people bowed and stayed bowed. Like I just couldn't believe
Yeah.
the willingness to go along, the sheep mentality. That has not been the American story. It's not been our DNA in the past. And I think it's reflective of the change in our education system and frankly getting a little bit spoiled. We've had it so good for so long. We're kind of resting on our laurels. So that part surprised me. But then there was a really good surprise, which is homeschooling tripled. I mean,
Yeah.
people are coming out of the woodwork to do what your family's experienced and what my family's experienced. And that is such good news. And the other thing that surprised me was how many people woke up and said exactly what you said a few minutes ago. I can't ignore this. I have to pay attention. I have to get involved. And these are people, unlike you, who never were involved before, right? I mean,
Right.
this is brand new to them, and they are hungry for knowledge, hungry to protect their kids, to teach their kids. I love seeing all these mama bears testifying at these school board meetings and saying, not on my watch, this isn't going to happen. I hope they're pulling their kids out of those schools, but still
Yeah.
going to
Right.
those school board meetings. So anyway, that's kind of, I think we're in a real quagmire. We're in a mess, but there are answers. The Bible has answers for everything we're facing.
Amen.
The way that we can restore this thing is by being involved, taking a long-term view. It's not going to happen overnight. But I do think we're in for some ugly days, and it's going to be tough. But we're built for this. This is for such a time as this. God's prepared us for this.
Amen.